What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my NFL DFS core plays for Week 7. As always, going to give out my favorite couple plays from a midweek perspective that do stick out. And then on Friday or Saturday, I'll be giving out my full player pool, go player by player, talk some strategy as well in my final thoughts video. So make sure you like, make sure you are subscribed so not miss out on all the other content throughout the week, showdown content, all that good stuff. And so I say we get started with the quarterbacks. There are two that are really sticking out. And the first one being Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes, I want to say kind of disappointed last week, but not really. Still scored 28 DraftKings points. Williams had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had a phenomenal matchup last week against Washington. I think it's probably an even better matchup here against Tennessee, who I think has given up like the first or second most DraftKings points to opposing quarterbacks. So I think Mahomes is in a phenomenal spot here. It's the highest total on the slate by a mile, a 57.5 point total. They are 5.5 point favorites. I do like Patrick Mahomes. Liked him a lot last week, going right back to him this week. Obviously, great stacking options. TYREEK, Mecole Hardman, and then also Travis KELCE. So, yeah, I like Mahomes. It's really hard to get away from them this week. Getting to the next play, Matthew Stafford, somebody that has been looking phenomenal this year. In the Rams' offense in general has been looking really, really good. And this is a game going against Detroit. Phenomenal matchup, 50.5 point total, which I believe is one of the highest on the slate here. And I guess the only concern is they are like 14.5 point favorites, which I think that makes them like the second or third highest favorite the whole years. And rightfully so. They should run right through the Rams here. So, I like Stafford a lot. I think it's a pretty solid matchup. Doing really well in the year, 24.2 DraftKings points on average, had 26.24 last week against the Giants. Looked good there. Great stacking options. Cooper Kupp, who I really like this week. We'll talk about him a little bit. And then also Robert Woods, who seems to finally have gotten it together in the past couple weeks. So, I think Stafford's in a smash spot here, and I really do like him in this game. So those are the two quarterbacks that are sticking out the most, Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford. We'll talk about some more later in the week, but those are my main two thus far. Getting into the running backs, it would be a shame if I did not talk about Derrick Henry, 9,200. I have some slight concerns, but really, how can you be concerned about Derrick Henry? I mean, this guy is phenomenal. It's really hard to fade this guy. I know people will try, but it never seems to work out, especially this year. I guess my concern, though, is they're going against the Chiefs, who, first off, a phenomenal matchup. I think Henry's going to run right through him when he gets the opportunity, but if they do fall behind, they are 5.5 point dogs. If they do fall behind, are they going to kind of abandon the passing game like we have seen before in the past? Or are they just going to feed Henry no matter what, no matter if they go down a ton, which I don't know. But I think Henry, it's really hard to fade him. I think he's going to have success. It's a 57.5 point total. He's going to more than likely find the end zone once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times. So it's really hard to get away from Henry. I think he is, I don't want to say a must play this week, but it's really hard to get away from him. Even at 9,200, I think is a phenomenal spot. And then Darrell Henderson, 6,600, who I think is going to be very popular as well, like Henry, and for a great reason. Like everything is lining up for Henderson to be a phenomenal play. They're at home. They're 14.5 point favorites. Detroit has one of the worst, if not the worst, run defense in the league. I think Henderson is in a phenomenal spot. 21 carries last week. I'd be happy. I'd be very happy with 21 carries this week as well. Also had 3 targets, 2 receptions, so he has a little bit of passing upside as well. So yeah, I like Darrell Henderson. Henry and Henderson is where I'm going to be at for the most part. There are a couple more guys that do stick out, but those two for sure, especially Henderson at that price tag. He's going to be one of my highest owned running backs personally, and probably one of the highest owned running backs on the slate, and for a very good reason. You can't ask for a better matchup there. Next, we have the wide receivers. I'll give out, I think, 3 or 4 here. The first one being Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill was a little bit limited last week. So he played 47 out of 82 possible snaps. And I want to say that concerns me, but not really, because the dude still had 12 targets. So when he was on the field, they were making it a priority to throw Tyreek Hill the ball. So I don't think we can look at that too much, but I do think that does open up some things for Mecole Hardman as well, who's also very cheap. So I like Hardman, I like Hill, I like this Chiefs offense this week in general. And Hill's in a smash spot against Tennessee, one of the best matchups you can ask for. I think Hill is somebody that's perfectly fine to go right back to. Did well last week, 22.6 DraftKings points. He's not practicing Wednesday. Hopefully he does heal up a little bit. Even if he is limited, I think he's still in play, especially at 8,600. Cooper Kupp, a guy that is going to be in play every single week. He did it last week. 37 DraftKings points, 12 targets, 9 receptions. He has had at least 10 targets in all 6 games this year. That is definitely something to mention. If that streak does keep up against Detroit, I think he's going to have another phenomenal day. Detroit's defense is very, very bad. I think Kupp is in a great spot, and you're getting a ton of targets out of him. So I think Kupp is great, going right back to him. And this is a weird week because I love Derrick Henry. I love Cooper Kupp. I love Devontae Adams. I love TYREEK Hill. And, we got to find some value. And I think there is some value. We'll talk about it later in the week. We'll talk about even one guy on this video. But I want to fit all these guys in my lineup, and I just know that's not possible. But, yeah, Cooper Kupp is another guy up there that I really do like. So speaking of value, and he's 6,600, but this is I think a ton of value on Calvin Ridley. This price tag makes no sense. Calvin Ridley was somebody that was 7,900 earlier in the year. He is now 6,600 for what reason? He got 13 targets in his very last game against Washington, 11 targets in week 3, 10 targets in week 2, even 8 in week 1. Why is he being priced down this much? It's not like it's a bad matchup either against Miami, who's given up the third most DraftKings points to opposing wide receivers. So yeah, this price tag makes literally 0 sense to me. I think Calvin Ridley is one of my favorite plays on the slate. All things considered, price, all that matchup, all that. But yeah, I think Calvin Ridley is in a phenomenal spot here, and the price tag just does not make sense. Another guy that's really cheap as well, we'll talk about later in the week, Chris Godwin, who's very cheap. Like, there are some great mid-range plays this week that we'll talk about, but Calvin Ridley is definitely one of that really does stick out. So let's get into some value here. Rashod Bateman is somebody that, made his debut. He made his debut in week 6. I had some concerns about, is he going to be limited? Is he not going to be limited? And he had 6 targets, 4 receptions, so I was very happy with that. And we'll have to see if Watkins is playing. If Watkins is playing, I won't be, as excited about Bateman. But if Watkins is out, I do like Bateman even more, especially at 3,400. They did price him up 400, rightfully so. I think he's still too cheap if Watkins does not play. But yeah, 6 targets last week, that's great. In his very first game, like that's phenomenal. So I think Bateman is somebody that, we talk about going up there and getting Kupp, Hill, Devontae Adams, Mahomes, guys like that, Derrick Henry. We could talk about all those great plays that are very expensive this week, and there's not a ton of value, but Rashod Bateman is somebody that definitely sticks out as a value play. Had some of him last week, was fine, about 7 DraftKings points, 6 targets. I was happy with that, but, hopefully he can even bump it up more, maybe, 6, 7, 8 targets this week, maybe find the end zone. That'd be sweet at 3,400. So Bateman is a value play that I'm looking out for. So tight end here, and yeah, there's actually a weird amount of tight ends that I do like this week. Typically, it's like KELCE and like a pump play, but there are some guys that I'll definitely mention later in the week. But it would be a crime to not talk about Travis KELCE, although kind of busted last week. He had 17.9 DraftKings points. I definitely consider that a bust for Travis KELCE standards. I had a ton of KELCE. It did not work out all that great. He still had 11 targets, 8 receptions, did not find the end zone, but yeah, this is a spot where I don't mind going back to KELCE whatsoever against Tennessee. 57.5 point total. I think there's obviously a really good chance that KELCE does find the end zone, and they did price him up a little bit. Yeah, 7,000 last week. That was insane, but they priced him up $600, and rightfully so. This is a matchup where I feel like Travis KELCE can get back on track and have one of those big games like he had in week 2 against Baltimore, scoring nearly 27 DraftKings points. So, yep, I got to mention Travis KELCE. Going to mention him every week. He's on the slate, and for a very good reason. But yeah, there's a ton of tight ends that do stick out. Another guy being Ricky Seals-Jones. I've been on this guy the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to continue playing him up until they price him up to where he probably should be priced up, and that is not at 3,700. Like that is way too cheap. So last week he found the end zone. That was awesome. 6 targets, 4 receptions. He has 15 targets in his last 2 games. Logan Thomas obviously still out. Ricky Seals-Jones is getting a big benefit off of that, obviously, and still 15.8 DraftKings points. I couldn't tell you how happy I was about that. At 3,000, they did price him up 700, but I don't think they priced him up enough. So Ricky Seals-Jones is another guy that I really do like this week in terms of finding some value. You want to go up and get Henry. You want to go up and get Devontae Adams, TYREEK Hill, Cooper Kupp. How do you do that? You punt down with Bateman. You punt down with Ricky Seals-Jones. So yeah, I like Ricky Seals-Jones, going back to him again once again this week, up until they do price him up to where he should be, and the 3,700 is just still too cheap. But yeah, guys like Dallas Goedert stick out. Zach Ertz, we'll talk about him. Gesicki sticks out. Mark Andrews. There's so many great tight ends this week, but Seals-Jones down at the bottom. Don't mind going back to him. All right, so that's about it, guys. Those are my core plays. Those are who are sticking out the most thus far on a Wednesday. Stay tuned for my final thoughts video. That'll be out Friday or Saturday. Make sure you like, subscribe so don't miss out on that. And good luck for week 7. Let's get it. See you guys.